Oh, wait, no, no, no.
We can pause it.
Please ask.
All right. Welcome to our debate. All right, the topic is the United States federal government should forgive all student loan debts. Everything will be confined contextually, and this debate will be in net benefits. So if you feel that after I've discussed my plan and if it were to be passed, the world would be a better place, then you'd vote in my favor. And if otherwise, you would vote in Gaby's favor. All right, I will start my speech. This is fun. All right, timer started. The United States federal government should forgive all student loan debts. I believe that this should take place because we have billionaires that live in the United States who don't pay taxes. We have kids who go to school who work in the middle class, and the middle class is the harder work, not the harder working, but they work many hours to barely make ends meet. And we have billionaires who don't even have to pay taxes, however the middle class does, and on top of student loan debts. Another thing would be mental health. We all know that money is super stressful, and they say money doesn't buy happiness, but people who say that have never been in a situation where you don't have money and it is very stressful. With that being said, if this plan were to be passed, I think that in all this, people would live healthier, happier lives. People in these types of debts wouldn't be as stressed. And when people are in these types of stressful situations, it can affect their everyday living. It can affect their relationships, their performance at work. And people also, if they're in debt, they're saving money for these loans that are crazy high instead of putting money back into the economy. So if we were to forgive student loan debts, you would have happier people who are better performing because they're not stressed. They're probably getting better sleep at night, knowing that they don't have student debt coming at the door. They're probably going to sleep better at night. They're going to perform better at work. We're overall going to have better performing businesses. And then you have people on the other side of that who maybe they are done with they get their student loans taken off, and then they can help put money back into retirement. Then you have people when they're retiring, they're not needing to rely on the government as much for Social Security because they were able to not have student loan debts and put money that they were earning into the retirement funds instead of towards student loans, towards something that isn't benefiting them. With that being said, you would have people in society as well who wouldn't have student loan debts. So if they weren't putting money back into retirement, they could put money back into the economy. They would maybe be spending more. They'd be buying that purse they've been waiting to buy for weeks and months and saving for, but they had to pay their student loan debts. So overall, I think that if we were to forgive student loan debts throughout the United States, we would have happier, healthier people. We would have better run businesses because people would be less stressed. If we have people in the United States who can make upon millions and millions and millions a year and not be taxed, yet someone who works 50 hours a week is taxed through the roof on top of trying to pay off their student loan debts, that doesn't make any sense. So I think that if it's morally the correct thing to do to forgive student loan debts, because nobody can deny the fact that being in a situation where you don't have money is 100% stressful. With that being said, I think that we should forgive all student loan debts. I think I'm done. Okay, so now we'll do cross-examination, and you have 2 minutes to ask me any questions. Do you have any questions or anything?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about your can you please define your plan again? I didn't quite get what your plan was.
That's a really good question. All right, my plan, because I guess I did kind of skip over that and getting a little bit excited telling you the reasons not why. My plan would be to forgive all student loan debt by passing I don't think this wouldn't be something like you're paying like taxes and more taxes are going. This would be completely forgiven, so it wouldn't have to be paid. Therefore, we would just have to pass a law. So I'm assuming we would have to pass a law with Congress, and then it would be voted on throughout, an election throughout probably each state, and then it would kind of make it to the top, and whoever doesn't. So should forgive all student loan debt.
Okay, and then another question is, so who would pay all these loans? Like, would it just be forgiven, like,
Yeah.
just
Yep.
given, or
Yep, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think it wouldn't be something that would be paid back. So we wouldn't have to be having, oh, well, then we're going to tax you more for this, and that will go towards this. It would be completely forgiven.
Okay. And then you said that forgiving these student loans would help the economy. Is that what I heard correctly?
Yep, because after we forgive these student loans, people would then be able to not put money into savings towards student loans, but put it back into the economy by buying from their businesses. All right, I think our 2 minutes is up because I forgot to set a timer. I kind of had my stopwatch. So, oh, perfect. You did too. Perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so then you are now going to give your initial speech, and you have, I believe it is up to 5 minutes. Yes, up to 5 minutes. I'm going to mute myself. I'll just be quiet. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming out, and thank you to
Irelyn, no worries.
Irelyn, your speech was great. So the United States federal government should forgive all student loans, and I am on the negative, so I think we should not forgive these student loans. I think a main reason why we should not forgive these student loans is because people can, I'm not saying will, but can abuse the loan system. So I think that people should be held responsible for their personal economic choices, because a loan is a loan. So going into this, you know that you should pay it back. It is not free money. There is nowhere in this world where they give you free money. So according to the procon.org, a 2020 survey found that 46 Americans believe that student loan forgiveness is unfair to those who have already paid their loans. And I support that, because what are we going to do to those people who have already paid their student loans? Are we going to give them their money back? Or it's just not, it's really unfair, because we all know that paying back the loans can be really stressful, like my opponent said, and it's just not fair to them to forgive only these people because the law was made. So I also think that that student loan forgiveness, it's a touchy subject, because is everyone really going to be using that money just for school? Is there do you have a plan to track every person borrowing these loans, that they're going to be for school, is what I'm trying to get across. So if we just forgive all student loans, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to abuse it. And is your plan going to be to forgive people who already have student loans, or people who have student loans in the future, if that makes sense? And yeah, so I have a really hard time accepting the fact that people are only going to use that money for school. So that's why I don't believe in really forgiving those student loans. And then also, I came across a question, which was, who really has these student loans? So who are these people that are so in debt? And according to the Deseret.com, it's actually the individuals who come out of dental school and medical school who don't really have quite that big of a debt. Like, they do, but it's mostly the individuals who borrow student loans and then drop out, who are trying to pay off these loans with their minimum wage jobs. That's why with interest, it can increase and increase and increase. So it's mostly those people who are in debt. And like I mentioned in my other bullet point, or reason, is that it's just unfair to those who are in medical school or dental school, who are paying off these student loans, to those who just drop out and don't pay it back. So yeah, I mean, if you choose to get a loan and you choose to drop out, I think that you should 100% be held responsible for that, because it is your own personal choices, and you know that going into everything you do with loans, with school. And I also think that there is plenty of educational resources that will help you with money, and you can also have a great education. And yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Okay, so then we have 2 minutes for examination? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna start time. Okay, you did awesome, good job. Okay. So you mentioned that a lot of student loan debts are from a lot of people who wanted to take on medical roles and they dropped out and they had minimum wage. So then it was harder to pay off those rates. And you say that people with medical who did continue that and now have those jobs, they have some, but it's not as much. Do you know how much nurses are being paid, nurses, what their average pay rate is if we're going to compare it to minimum wage?
I think the nurse's average pay is like, I'm gonna say like maybe $20.
But you don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
But
so yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know.
Right. And then you mentioned too, if this plan would be for future loans or for ones that were to come. So I don't think that, I would say this would be for loans of the past. And I think this would be like to kind of get people out of the hole, to get the stress off, and then we would hopefully try to take action in course of kids trying to like use those resources that could help with money. So I don't think this is for everyone for the end of everything. Like no one ever has to pay student loans like ever again. I think it'll just be like, let's get us out of this huge debt because, let's get it out of this and start fresh. And hopefully we can be smarter about this. That kind of works. But that's kind of I guess that was kind of my answer. But, okay, cross-examination. I already have like 19 seconds left. Then after this, okay, so now we would go into stuff going on. Okay, so after the examination, I am now going to do a 4-minute speech, or have up to 4 minutes to give a speech in contrast to what you said. Okay, I'm going to start the timer now. All right, back to the United States federal government should forgive all student loan debt. So you state that you believe that 46% of people who believe that we should not forgive student loan debt are people who say that they've already paid theirs off and they don't believe that's fair. Why should we as a generation, we as people work further to better evolve ourselves and for the betterment of our community for the years to come? So why should people say, well, because I struggled, I believe that you should? We as parents, our parents have told us, I'm giving you the life that I couldn't have. So why that? And then next to that, you say that, it's stressful. We shouldn't pass this because we shouldn't pass this because, like you said, people have already paid it back and it's not fair. So they shouldn't do that. The government shouldn't be able to do that. And to that I say, the government is to work for the people. The people do not work for the government. The government is a system that's ran to help us as a people, but we have the right to overthrow the government when we think that they are not being ran effectively and in a way that does not benefit us as people. So we as people should have the right to say, we want to forgive student loan debt. If we can leave thousands and thousands of military militia on a different continent and just be like, whoops, then we can forgive student loan debt. The government is supposed to work for us as people. And then we talked about, you mentioned dental and medical students for people with student loans. And then we, once again reiterated that we say that a lot of that student loan debt was from people who decided to take on the major and then failed and decided, or not failed, but decided to, go a different route and they're working a different job. But who's to say those kids working those minimum wage jobs trying to pay off their student loans aren't working towards a different career and a different type. It's okay. We as kids were young. We should be able to go, oh man, I just think this major isn't for me. Yeah, we took out those loans and we said, yes, I will pay this back. And of course, but let's be honest, we 100% know that this stuff is tricky. And we as in school, we aren't taught how to manage money and we aren't taught how to take out loans. And we know that stuff is scary because interest rates, they climb up crazy and you can get them without knowing. There's so much things that if you sign that contract and there's you didn't read this just right and we got you a loophole here. So you don't, yes, you sign on to contracts, but let's be honest, they're not just, this is all of it. And, things aren't always that cut and clear. So I know that we say, you sign to take a loan and you'll pay it back. But like you said, people I mean, we're just humans at the end of the day. We're allowed to make mistakes. If you decide that that wasn't the major for you, who says you have to sit there and just be and die and stress and just agony of the fact that you couldn't pay those student loan debts back? Because you shouldn't have to live your entire life of stress for the 2 years that you went to school and decided it wasn't for you. Those 2 years should not determine the rest of your life. We have what, an average of 100 years here with all with our medical advances now and everything. So I don't think even kids who do go to school and they rack up tons of loan debt and they get a great job or whatever the case may be, if people are truly struggling from student loan debt, those 4 years or 5 years, however long they spent in college, shouldn't determine the rest of their life and how they're going to live the rest of their life in financial discomfort. I think I'm done now.
You were amazing.
Thank you.
You were popped off.
Thank you.
Okay. That was really great. I wrote so many things that you said.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have
5 Oh yeah. Okay, so you now have 4 minutes to wait. Is that right? I gave my speech for 4 minutes. Oh, you have 2 minutes. It says reflect on the affirmative. Recognize the affirmative. 2 minutes. Is that's you going back? And then we're
2 minutes. Okay. So I wanted to thank you for your debate. It was really, really, really good. So I wanted to talk about the why should everyone struggle? So our past generations, or I mean like the people who already paid it, why should we struggle or the future generations? Well, I wanted to say, okay, so how do you know that only so like how do you know that this problem of like going into debt won't happen like in future generations? Like you said, like people should learn how to like better manage their money in future generations so it won't happen again and stuff like that. But how do we know that it won't happen again? Like how do we know that this won't be a continuous cycle, that we're not just going to keep forgiving student loans each generation, that we just go into a massive debt? And then I also wanted to talk about how you said government should work for us. I do agree on your statement about that, but I still stand strong on that bullet point that I have, that it is a choice to get a loan. I firmly believe that it's a choice. If you do not want to get a loan, I think that there is community colleges that are not that costly. You can save up and then go into more costly programs or careers. I also wanted to talk about how you mentioned about the interest that a lot of people don't know about money management. I totally agree with you. We were never taught about that in school, but I also do believe that you could always, always, always read about it or be informed before going into this loan or even taking out a loan, and stuff like that. You're not just gonna walk into a place and take out a loan without reading about the interest, without reading about how they'll charge you, what they'll charge you, and stuff like that. And then you said that the forgiving the student loans would better the economy, but wouldn't it better the economy if people would pay their student loans because you're giving the money back to the government? If I'm
that's
saying
okay.
that
No,
correctly.
that's okay. All right, we got okay. Thank you for coming to our debates. Net benefits, please let us know which you agree with. All right, I think that's it. We can stop. How do we start?